Hello there. My name is Mark, aka the Canadian Jedi, and this is episode 90 of Holocron Chronicles. I'm joined, as always, by the man pointing at our logo on his shirt and doing a little dance, Charlie Carden. Charlie,
what's
how you doing tonight?
up? I'm good. Where I was, Mark and I were chatting before we got on here that it's National Pride Week. You had yours, as did our guest, who we'll introduce in a moment, who is also a Canadian. But it's July 3, so in the morning we have the 4th of July, where I always joke that
cookies out for.
Yep, leave our milk cookies out for Captain America. April and I also do a 4th of July watch-a-thon, so we watched Captain America: The First Avenger this morning. It was right when we got up.
Nice.
But I always joke that in rural areas of my state, so we say like downriver Michigan, I said there was a meme going around saying that, hey, there's a guy who woke up his last weekend with 10 fingers. Because that's where I always get some moron blowing his hands off. The only thing I don't care for fireworks. They scare my dogs. So that's a big thumbs down for me.
Yeah, for sure. You already mentioned our guest, so great time to introduce our special guest, first time on the show,
First time.
First
Hello.
time. Well, is this your first
I'm
podcast in general?
Yeah, it is. I'm
Awesome.
super excited. Yeah.
Oh, good deal.
That is
Welcome.
Yeah, good to be here.
Yeah,
good
welcome
to
to
be
the show.
here. Thank
Well,
you for
welcome.
having me.
It's everything you've heard of and dreaded. No, I'm just kidding. No, but we have a good time. We have we do enjoy casting the pods and talking about some Star Wars. But before we do that, I do have to pay the bills and talk about our Secret Friends Unite Patreon. I mean, it's a mercy killing. What can I say? But the great news is if you go over to patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite, you can actually try out our additional content and ad-free versions of our shows for 7 days for free. If you like what you hear, you stick around. And we would love to have you on board, as we do with a new user that I'll talk about just here in a second. But over at our Patreon, we have been making new content for about a year and a half. Todd, who is our third partner, he and I do a great comic book show called Spinner Rack, where we break down a comic book arc. I've got a fun show called The Facts of Geek Life, where myself and a guest take a classic series and a season of that show and talk about a handful of episodes and just overall have a blast. So, and then Mark, as always, we're waiting for your triumphant return with some great new content.
I've got 2 ideas that I'm cooking right now, and I'm not going to say anything right now because they can blow up, but I got a couple of things starting to sizzle.
I love it. Well, before I mention our new person, I will give some love and respect to the folks on our Friends with Benefits level. John Sedorf, the awesome Phoenix Sisters cosplay. That's our friend and frequent contributor, Kelly, and her cosplay partner, Crayley. Brendan Myers, Matthew Keel, and Corey NHD on our BFFs level, our top tier folks. We have the awesome Nias family of the Twin Cities, Sean, Stella, and Henry. And we have a new trial user this week. We're very excited to welcome someone who goes by the name or potentially the pseudonym. I'm not sure. I don't know this person, but maybe Mark, maybe you do. Mary Letters, as in like post a letter from the post office. So Mary, welcome. Not sure how you found us. Not sure if I know you, and just you're using a different name, but regardless, super glad to have you on board. Welcome, and we hope that you stick around and you enjoy our stuff. So again, if you want to be like Mary, you want to go to patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite and check us out. And that is the end of my commercial. Mark, back to you.
Whoa, that was a good commercial. And yeah, thank you, Mary, for testing out the free trial. Hope you like what you hear, and we're happy to have you, as well as all the rest of the people that we mention every week. Okay, I want to learn all about our special guest, ZZ. First off,
ZZ.
So first off, you do a lot of Star Wars content,
Yes.
mostly on TikTok. I believe is like your main platform.
Mostly on TikTok. I just created an Instagram just to cross post everything.
Nice. I
But
do the same.
TikTok has been like the place where I get the most engagement,
Yeah.
and it's where a lot of like my connections, like everyone I meet, is all on TikTok. So that's usually where I spend most of my time.
Awesome. And
Yeah,
we'll have links to your bios in the show notes and all that kind of stuff. And before we go, you can tell everyone where to follow you again.
for
So
sure.
if you're listening right now and you want to follow along, check out the description and stick around. We'll let you know how to follow, because it's great stuff. You put out a ton of fun content. It's
Cool.
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah, and I'm glad you've got that cross post on Instagram, because it's so weird seeing how some people and some content will take off on TikTok and other stuff really takes off on Instagram. Like, I had a
Yeah.
couple of posts recently that took off on Instagram
Hmm.
that are like, reaching up, getting closer to like 20,000 views or whatever. And then on
Wow.
TikTok, they like, I don't think I
Just
scratched
nothing.
1,000. Right.
Yeah,
That's
And it's
that's
weird.
that's happened to me as
so
well.
weird.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Wow.
weird. And I always find it's the opposite. I had another one that's one of my lower, more recent posts on Instagram, and that one kind of took off on TikTok a little bit, like not quite to that other extent, but like it's like, what? How is this? Why?
Yeah. I don't
I,
honestly, TikTok and Instagram, the algorithms are very different. I
yep.
studied marketing, so I kind of know a little bit about it. But honestly, they keep changing the algorithms and it's so hard to keep up. And a lot of times I find that with Instagram, my videos actually gain popularity like weeks after I post them. Like
Yeah.
my
Weird.
one video this week, it got like when I first posted it got only 1,000 views, but now it's like at 25K for some reason on Instagram.
Yeah.
Man, oh
Very
man.
random, very
Yep.
weird, but who knows? I don't know.
One
I've
of
We're
given
all
up
just
trying to understand it.
everybody fumbling their way towards fame.
Yeah.
yeah.
I love it. Good deal. That's
Yeah,
exciting.
that's awesome. So
Yeah.
That's
yeah, I hope
exciting.
people are following, because I love the stuff that you do, and
Thank you.
I'm glad to see it in more places. But first, aside from that stuff, I want to find out just in general how you got into Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually grew up watching the Star Wars movies. Like I think I watched the prequels first because that's kind of when I was born.
Man, we
And
run
then
into too much of that. All you young people saying, "I love the prequels," because
I'm so sorry.
it's okay. No, you don't have to go full Canadian on me. You don't have to say
Okay.
you're sorry.
Oh yeah.
You know what? As far as Star Wars, and again, it translates to the certainly the Star Trek community as well, because there are different facets of it. Just love what you love, and if anybody gets in your
Hmm.
face about it, tell them to f off, eh?
Yeah.
That's what I think. You know what I'm saying? That's cool.
Yeah.
So prequels. Yeah, talk to us
Prequels.
about the prequels, please.
Yeah. So honestly, when I first watched the movies, I wasn't in love with Star Wars yet. I don't think I was a huge fan until later on in life. Um, I was actually a big Harry Potter nerd before I fell in love with Star Wars. And it wasn't until I watched the Clone Wars where something just clicked in
Mm,
my brain where I was like, oh,
Nice.
this is the greatest thing ever. Like, oh my gosh. And it's just,
There's so much more storytelling, and when you have those like 22-minute episodes, and as opposed to like a 2 hour
hmm
movie, and then it's 3 years and you get another one. It's just when there's more content. And I know I keep talking about Star Trek, but when you have 900 episodes spanning almost 60 years, you have a lot of chance to explore things. So
yeah,
I think it's easier to fall in love. So that
for
might
sure.
be what clicked for you. Yeah, who
Yeah,
knows?
because I really got attached to the characters and the universe itself. Because in the Clone Wars, they were able to explore all of that, like you
yeah.
Hmm.
said. So I just became so obsessed with it, and it was such a hyper fixation, and it's not like it has not gone away at all. And it's been, I don't know, I watched it super late. It was like 2 or 3 years ago, that I just got
So
on the train.
Yeah.
that's such a common thing that we hear on the show, that people
Hmm.
liked Star Wars, knew Star Wars growing up, were into it when
Hmm.
they were kids, kind of fell off in later kind of teenage years. And it seems to be something with like I don't know, like the pandemic or Disney Plus coming out or a mix of both or something, but
Hmm.
like people could be just like, in the last 3, 4 years, something like around there, just like finding
Hmm.
Clone Wars, specifically
Hmm.
Hmm.
Clone Wars and Rebels. A lot of the
Yeah.
times, it's like I
Yeah.
watched the movies,
Yeah.
but I really got into Clone Wars, and it was just something, maybe something to your point, Charlie, of like 22-minute episodes, quick kind of thing, dives into the story. There's some silly episodes, there's some serious episodes, there's some
Right.
crazy
Exactly.
high
Yeah.
space content episodes, and then there's just some like Star Wars ass episodes. It's like a little bit of
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
and you can dive right into it. And like you said, kind of get hyper fixated on it. Um, that we've had
Yeah.
like 90 episodes right now, and there's a lot of guests that have come on and been like, either that was my introduction to Star Wars, that's how I got back into Star Wars, that's when I became a super fan. Like
Hmm.
you're not
Hmm.
alone in that at all.
Yeah.
Like that is really a
Yeah.
great jumping in point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think it happened during COVID for me. I was binge watching like like every series that I could find. And so
Yeah.
like, you know what, I'm gonna do Star Wars. There's so much Star Wars content out there. I'm just gonna do everything in timeline order. And so I
Nice.
just, over three
Nice.
months, that's all I did. Watched
Wow.
every single piece of media I could find. And
Yeah.
my whole family, like, I mean, my whole family, they all love Star Wars, so they were pretty on board with it and they didn't
Hmm.
care.
Yeah.
But my brother was, my brother watched the Clone Wars years and years and years ago, and he was like, "Oh, finally! I've been telling you about this, and you're finally watching it."
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Do you have, is Clone Wars your favorite piece of Star Wars, or do you have another piece that's like definitive for you now?
Um, Clone Wars for sure is always gonna hold a special place in my heart because it's what got me like going. But I love the Bad Batch
Yeah.
so much. Like
Awesome.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that show, the characters I just connect with. I think relate to each character in some way, and
Mm,
it just fills me with so much joy watching that show. And a lot of my content that I make is a lot of like Bad Batch stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, definitely the Bad Batch and Clone Wars, and just the animated shows in general. I have a lot of love for, just because
Hmm.
I feel like they add so much context and richness to the universe as a whole. So
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate the animated ones. Yeah.
I'm telling you, TV is really what fleshes out something, which
Hmm.
is, when you have just, I mean, I'm sure it would even be true in Harry Potter, and I know that they dabble and there's talk of a show happening now, and
Yeah.
but I mean that in this case was based on a book, but it was just based on a book series, so there's so many more corners to something that when you have a Doctor Who or a Star Trek or whatever, something that's a little bit more long form, you get to expand a fan base and look at different corners of it. And then there's parts of it that you can glom onto and say, well, this is mine and this is okay. And I watch it because I'm a fan, but I don't really like it the same. You know what I mean? So, and with ever in increasing content like what we're going to talk about here today, that's going to continue to be the case. Things will just grow and people will find new favorites. And that's a great thing. My
Hmm.
opinion, my small opinion.
I'm going to insert a new question in here that I don't usually ask, but since we've already talked about content a little bit, and you mentioned that a lot of your content is Bad Batch based, do you have
Hmm.
like a favorite video or piece of content that you've made that like doesn't even matter if it really took off or anything? Like you just kind of like, when you look through your old videos or profile or something, you're like, man, I really loved that one. That one holds like a
Um,
special piece.
oh, that's a good question. Specifically for the Bad Batch, um, I love any of the videos where I do where it's like it's almost like a skit. Like I use a sound and I try and match each character's voices like with a
Yeah.
member of the Bad Batch. So I think there's one where it's like Hunter is having sensory overload, and like the rest of his brothers, like the rest of the batch, are all just like laughing at him, and he's like freaking out, and like
Oh,
Wrecker's in the
jeez.
background doing weights, and like and Tech is just like on his little data pad, just smirking to himself, and
Oh,
Hunter's just like,
goodness.
You guys just need to be quiet." It's like
Yeah.
I look
Mm.
at that one, and I just laugh to myself because it was just I had so much fun making it.
That's awesome.
But yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Nice.
I love those when you can match a sound to the characters. It's
yeah,
I
yeah.
have one right now that I just like. I have to find a day where I can suit up, and that's like the
Hmm.
worst part of that. Sometimes it's like because I kind of want to be in like full Mandalorian outfit for like one small part of this, and I'm like that one takes a while to get in. Do I
Yeah,
want to do
yeah.
that for what's going to
Yeah.
be 3 seconds on screen if I'm lucky? I think that's an exaggeration. Like that's I got to plan that around when I'm already in the suit for something else. But I
Hmm.
have like
Yeah.
Hmm.
sound saved on my TikTok. So
Yeah. You'll get there.
it's you just got to plan those things out and let them happen.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, you do.
do you have a favorite character in Star Wars?
Um, that's so difficult because there's so many amazing characters, but I
You
think
can do like a top 3, top
a top
5, top
three,
60 if you want. Let's
a
go
top
full Lego game.
three.
Just start
Yeah.
listing all of them.
Full Lego game. Yeah. Build them and put
Honestly,
them together.
honestly, I'm gonna have to say Ahsoka for me because
Solid answer.
she reminds me like there's a lot of
Choice for
qualities
new
about
generation.
her,
Yeah.
yeah, that I love and that she, she's been through a lot, and for me personally, I've been through a lot, and she's very resilient, and I've had to be very resilient, so I've just find a lot of comfort in her. And
Awesome.
I might be meeting Ashley Eckstein in August.
Ooh,
So I'm super
Wow.
excited about that because I'm gonna try and
Nice.
get her autograph. So
Sweet.
fingers crossed.
I'm keeping my
Yeah.
fingers and toes crossed for you. That sounds
Thank you.
amazing. I hope that
Good.
comes together for you.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
So
yeah.
awesome. She just seems like such a genuine, nice
Yeah.
person. Every
For
single
sure.
person
Hmm.
I've heard of that's met her, we've had a couple of people like Bella that we've had on the show a couple of times. Like anyone that's met her has just been like, she is amazing. And it's just like I love that when a character like the person who voices and means so
Hmm.
much to you or their character does, like they're also awesome.
Yeah,
That's just the best.
yeah.
Um, it's just so opposite when you like meet someone that you're like, oh my gosh, it's you, and they're just like, eh.
Yeah,
Oh
Never
no,
meet your heroes, right?
Never
Yeah.
meet your heroes, yeah.
yeah. Um,
No, but she seems lovely, and I just can't wait if it happens. I'm probably gonna cry, most likely.
Mm.
I'm gonna be in tears.
fantastic.
Uh,
Um, do you have a lean towards like the light side or the dark side specifically? Like if for you personally, do you have like a way your answers so far have been like pretty rebel,
hmm.
pretty light
That's
side,
a good.
but I've
Pretty
been
Good.
light side.
surprised before. I've been hit with that like I love Luke and the all the good guys, and it's like, oh, do you like the light side? Bam, dark side, red lightsaber.
Bam.
Yeah.
Darth Jar
Uh,
Jar. Give it to me.
Darth Jar Jar. No, actually, it's funny you should say that because for me personally, I I want to say, oh yeah, I'd be a Jedi, but no, I'd definitely be a Sith, for sure.
All
I
right,
just
okay,
feel
all right.
like the whole, like, first of all, they got better outfits. I love their whole vibe.
Hard to argue
Um,
there. Yeah,
It
hard to
is.
argue
Yes.
there,
The
but
black emo.
yeah, the black emo. Yeah. Um, I just love like they follow their passions, they follow their emotions. They don't really play by a lot of rules. They just do whatever
Only
they
the rule of
want.
two.
Only the rule of two. That's like the only
Right.
rule. But
yeah.
that as much as I want to say I'd be a good guy, I think I have a bit of a chaotic energy that it wouldn't put me in the Jedi category.
Hmm.
I can
It's
see
Yeah.
funny
that.
you say that. Oh, the only rule's the rule too. But the more I think about that, they don't follow that one either because they're
They
always
don't.
trying to figure out a way around it so they can be like, yeah, but I kind of want. Oh, we got all those Inquisitors. Like all the Inquisitors, Vader killed all of them,
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
at the end of it, because you can only have two. So you can follow a rule, but bend a rule, but then you got to bend it back again. Yeah, the Sith they're
And
really all over the
I mean,
place.
I think we're
They're
seeing
all over
someone
the
kind
place.
of bend those rules. We'll talk about that in a bit, but I think like it seems to
Yeah,
be kind of what the acolytes leading to.
Mhm.
Um,
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
and also like everything you just said about like the emotions and this and that. I think we got one of the best arguments in the episode we're going to be talking about, or one of the episodes
yeah,
we're going to be talking about, of like from the certain point of view, like from my point of view, but like we've had that line before, but like man, what a compelling argument
yeah,
for the
yeah.
dark side and for just
Mhm.
leaning into your emotions and all that kind of stuff. But we'll get to that. All right, if you lean to the dark side, are you full on red lightsaber? You going orange? What's your favorite lightsaber color of choice?
I definitely think, I mean, I love red. I'll take a red lightsaber, but if I had my pick, it would probably be purple.
Okay. All right.
Purple Whip. We got that. That's
Purple,
something we
purple
got this
whip.
week.
Oh my
Purple whip.
God.
Woo!
That was
All
epic.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really
Whip it
hope we see
good.
the
Do 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 do
the
do.
light whip a little bit more than that, because
Yeah,
Right.
like
same.
that was such a great, but it's so
That was
quick
dope.
and it's just
And
like
that's
bring that back.
that's old school. That actually came from the OG Marvel comics that I grew up with,
Yeah.
from a character named I want to say sure we talked about this a couple episodes ago. And I've already
Yeah.
forgotten the name of the character, but it was a Imperial agent who posed as a rebel officer, rebel pilot. Luke killed her without knowing why, but the Force guided him to do it. She survived, and then she became a dark Force user with a whip. But the whip wasn't really a lightsaber; it was kind of like a traditional like cat and nine tails whip, but it still had kind of some lightsaber aspects. So now, if I should do some research and come back and talk about it because
Yeah.
it was deeper than that. But I digress. Excuse me.
Speaking of the lightsaber whip, though, badass lightsaber design. Do you have a personal favorite lightsaber design or like style or anything
Mm,
like that?
I mean, you can't go wrong with Darth Maul's. Like his is really cool.
The original
Yeah.
I
two
think the
flipper.
original two, yeah.
Yeah.
When I first saw that in Phantom Menace, I was like, I need one of those.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
I still remember
that
that like
or
second ignition. Like, oh, that
yeah,
just blew my
yeah,
mind. Yeah.
yeah. For me, it's like Darth Maul's, or I really like Asajj Ventress's hilts. Like
Yeah.
those
The
are
two
really nice
skinny
The
as well.
curved
newer, like the
blades.
curve kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
those
So
are
good.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I like any kind of weird lightsaber design. And I saw a couple of like concept designs for the Acolyte. And that's one thing, like, they've had some great lightsaber combat, but I haven't seen a design in that show that I'm like, yes. And some of the
Yeah.
concepts
Yeah.
are really weird. So I was like, they lost something somewhere in translation there. I think that's a practicality effect
Mm-hmm.
thing because they're all kind of self-contained. Anyway, um, yeah, but that's I love lightsaber stuff. But like, oh man, Maul's is such a great choice. Holy
Yeah.
Hmm.
crap! That because that was like the first weird one that we saw. Like up
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
until
was
then,
the
like the
first.
original trilogy, we just saw basic lightsabers, a
Yep.
couple of different color variations, but nothing major. And
Right.
even like the first part of that movie, we see just traditional kind of lightsabers. They're doing a couple of more fancy spins and stuff, but then
Right.
like he just lights his thing. John Williams is lighting an entire orchestra on fire. Like
Yeah. Right. Right.
it's
Right.
just a
Yeah,
moment.
It's
yeah.
a moment, no doubt.
Fantastic choice. Do you have like a personal collectible? Because mine's right behind me. Mine's the lightsaber that I built in Galaxy's Edge, and
Hmm.
that's both one of my favorite lightsaber designs, and based off of two of my favorite lightsaber designs in Gunji and Tenel Kaz from like the old Legends, Young Jedi books. So that's like one of my favorite collectibles. Do you have any Star Wars collectibles to speak
Yeah,
of?
I
Yeah.
actually I have Ahsoka's twin blades, like Clone Wars
Oh,
era.
Mm.
Yeah, they're, I don't know if you can even see them. They're like
a
I
little
think
bit.
right
so.
over
Yep.
there. A little bit. But yeah, they're my absolute favorite thing. They're NeoPixel, super nice.
Nice.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
definitely a prized possession.
Would you take those to get signed? What like
Uh
if you get to meet Ashley?
yeah, I mean I would take those to get signed. I'm actually currently drawing Ahsoka right now.
Ooh,
And so I'm
okay.
actually want to get it printed off um on like really nice poster paper and have Ashley
Nice.
sign that
Oh,
because it's
fabulous.
like my own creation. So
Yeah.
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Maybe
Hmm.
even better than the Sabres. That's fantastic.
Hmm.
Um, do you have a favorite affiliation? I don't even know where you're gonna like. Are you going Nate Sith bounty hunter? Where are you going with this? Hang out with the Bad Batch? Basically, if you could hang out with a group in Star Wars for like a day, who are you
Hmm.
picking?
If I could hang out with a group, it'd probably be the Bad Batch,
Okay.
I
All
think.
right.
I think I'd have a really good time with them.
Yeah.
I mean, a part of me would go like I would think about going out with the Sith and see what they're all about, but honestly, I know I'd guarantee to have a good time with the batch for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's safer, and if
it's
they were
safer.
already two Sith in this group, what do you think's going to happen to you?
True.
She's
Yeah,
gonna kill
Yeah.
one of them.
nothing good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Oh,
you got two choices.
I
You got
got
two
two choices.
choices. Literally,
I'll
there's
I'll
no third
I'll,
option.
I'll strike the first blow. It's fine.
There you go.
There you
That's
go. Just
very Sithy
get
of
get
you.
the we got the Jedi Christmas tree as we're going to talk about. 3 hits. Meep, meep, meep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
that was such a shocker. But we'll get into that in a second here.
Yeah.
yeah,
Don't let me jump ahead.
If you didn't strike the first blow, basically Star Wars just constant suffering, cool laser swords and ponchos, but like,
Belts, boots, and jackets.
tragic things happen. So if you were to die in the Star Wars
Mhm.
universe in a more hilarious way,
yeah.
how would that go down?
Okay, I got two.
Mmm.
So one, expired blue milk. Okay.
Ouch. The death of dairy.
Not even a sniff test first. You're just like blue milk, bam. All right.
Blue milk, and then
And band dead.
yeah,
I respect
and then
it.
two, probably shining my lightsaber hilt, and then it goes off.
Yep.
Dead.
That's the classic meme. Luke
Yeah.
Skywalker.
Yeah,
saying,
when he's holding it. Yeah.
Deadliest weapon in the universe points directly at face.
Yeah.
Exactly. That is fantastic. I absolutely love that blue milk answer. That is
Mm.
one of my new favorites. Just chugging expired blue milk.
Blue
Yes.
milk
That's a good one.
poisoning. Rough.
Yeah, that is a good one. There's no news to speak of, so thank you so much for letting us in a little bit of your Star Wars story. But right now, we're gonna skip straight down to the Acolyte, the last 2 episodes,
It's
5 and
time.
6. Holy crap, Charlie!
Yes.
You wanna break? How do you guys feel? We didn't talk about this. We keep saying maybe we should before we record, and we never do. So bear
Right.
with us while we sort this out. Are we talking about both
roll
of
in?
these kind of together, or do you
Yeah,
want to break
but
it down?
I
think
would.
they fit together.
I think they fit together. I think
I
we'll
think
do
they
that.
fit together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'll knock out these summaries and then we'll go
Yeah.
at it.
Let's
So
go.
all right, episode 5 is Night. Alex Garcia Lopez directs with a script and screenplay by Cor Adana and Cameron Squires from June 25th of this year. The mysterious warrior kills all the Jedi except Jord. Now, it was funny, Todd and I were talking about this. We have Jord or Jorts, like jean shorts, and we have Jackie, which is, of course, Jackie Moon from the Tropic Thunder Will Ferrell movie from 15 years ago. So we got Jorts and Jackie Moon and Soul. Can't really mess with that name. Soul saves OSHA violation from the warrior and demands that he reveal his identity. The warrior claims that they have already met and vanishes into the forest. He's all, woo! He's a Scooby-Doo monster. Jackie captures May, but the mysterious warrior arrives to kill May for trying to betray him. Jackie breaks the warrior mask before she is killed by the Sith triangle, the Sith Christmas tree. Ding ding dong, bing bing bong. But the mask is knocked askew, and we find out that it's Kamir, or of course Jason from The Good Place, or Smilo Ren, or the Stranger, whatever it is you want to call him. Soul arrives and questions Kamir, who says the Jedi might call him Sith, which kind of sounds like a slur, like, no, Sith, like that's our word. Can't do that. And he now intends to kill them to keep to keep his existence a secret. Yord ambushes Kamir, but is quickly killed. Oh, that was even more shocking. Soul fights and overpowers Kamir, but is stopped from killing him by OSHA, who plants a light on Kamir that causes the community of Umbra Moths, that was from the last episode, to attack and carry him away, which of course doesn't kill him because it'd be too easy. May uses OSHA's stun gun on Soul so she can speak with OSHA one-to-one, but they end up arguing about each other's choices, and May uses the Force to knock OSHA unconscious. Not a good way to end an argument. May steals OSHA's clothes and poses as her sister. Total Parent Trap moment, returning to Soul with the Jedi ship. They are followed by a suspicious Basil, who's the furry little dude, because I don't remember that he was called that, but he's adorable. Got to have adorable critters in Star Wars. That's kind of the way things work. Kamir frees himself from the Umberoths and finds Osha lying unconscious on the forest. Then we transition into episode 6, Teach / Corrupt. Hanel Culpepper, that's a name I recognize, a famous director person. At least Culpepper's famous last name. Leslie Headland, show creator herself, and Jocelyn Bayath did the writing, and this aired just the other day on July 2. Kamir takes Osha to an unknown planet where he dresses her wounds. And as Todd mentioned, very nearly see some Star Wars butt, because he strips down, he's taking that Jedi bath, and you're like, hey. I don't know. Anyway, he claims to be a former Jedi who was betrayed by his master, drawing parallels to Osha's past. Seems a little sus, but we'll find out. She is wary of him, but eventually agrees to try on his helmet, which is made from a lightsaber blocking material, cortosis, which that sounds like something you catch on your feet. On the Jedi ship at Kofar, interference disrupts Sol's attempts to contact the Jedi Council. A partial message about losing his whole team makes it to Coruscant. Saul asks May to help fix the ship's power, still believing her to be Osha, and she is attacked by Basil. May overpowers him and resets the power. She tries to get Sol to tell her the truth about what happened on Brendock, but her wording reveals to him that she is not Osha. When the ship's power is restored, Sol stuns May and leaves her just as Vernestra and a small band of Jedi arrive to investigate his message. They find the massacre and suspect a fallen Jedi is responsible, with one Jedi suggesting that only Sol could be powerful enough to kill so many. Ooh. When May awakes, Sol says he will now tell her the truth about what happens on Brendock. What convenient timing for the episode to end when that happens. Wow.
Holy. Yeah.
Holy.
Wow.
The show is actually, Mark, forgive me, the show is actually watchable now. Now it's good. I really struggled in episodes 1 through 4.
I know a lot of people did.
Me too.
That's my
but now
question to both of you.
These were both riveting episodes. I was on the edge of my seat. Episode 5 shocked the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
I know that even Daphne Keene has gone on record and saying I'm just impressed by how Leslie took our characters and raised the stakes. And so that, it's kind of like watching The Walking Dead or a show like that, where it's like, oh, I really love XYZ. Oh, they just got eaten by a pile of walkers, where I didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, kudos to, it sucks that it took 4 episodes for it to really ramp up, but kudos to the powers that be for really throwing down the gauntlet and making some things that are going to stick. So I was very much impressed by these episodes. Totally on board now, where before I was lacking. So that's me.
And in retrospect, I think the slower episodes, everything's been leading up. Like, we had to get 1 and 2 establishing Kamir as kind of an idiot to get the impact of the reveal. We had so far, I think episode 3, we haven't had the payoff to that, but it seems like everything's pointing to what really happened on Brendock. We're going to get that payoff next episode, or maybe 6 or whatever, or 8.
Yeah.
I mean, but everything's just kind of coming together, and you're kind of realizing like, oh, this is why those seeds were planted. I think it just kind of makes everything better. But that's my first question. That's the first thing I want. These 2 episodes seem to be a turning point for a lot of people. How are you feeling before, Charlie? I know you said it was nigh unwatchable. It was a slog for you.
A little bit, yeah.
I do feel the same way, just because a lot of it kind of felt like it was disconnected, or I wasn't like picking up what they were trying to put down. But now looking at it as like, oh, these were just building blocks to what's gonna happen at the end. It's like, okay, let's just take a minute and focus on that and just not worry about anything else. But this episode 5 and 6 really, like, I was super interested in it, especially episode 5. There was a lot of action. You got the cool lightsaber stuff. You got the cool like force stuff, you got the cool creatures, you got the interesting technology. Like it was just Star Wars. Like it's everything that I love about Star Wars. And so I was like, okay, I'm super interested in this. Like I'm back on board 100%. Let's go. I can't
Yeah.
wait for the next couple of episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big
Absolutely.
time.
Yeah. And I like last weekend I was talking to like my brother, my cousin, a couple of my uncles, and we were like all talking about different shows that we're watching. And I mentioned this one, and all of them said the same thing, like, "Oh, I heard like the first few episodes weren't really good." And I was like, I was into 1 and 2. There was some really cool martial arts stuff. There was a cool
Mm-hmm.
like kind of establishing the like
Hmm.
where the
Hmm.
Jedi are at this time. I said kind of 3 fell off a little bit for me, just in terms of like there were some like cringy moments, all that, and I still kind of think that, but I think it's gonna pay off. I hope,
Hmm.
maybe we'll
Yeah.
see, but I'm a little
Yeah.
bit more. I'm a little bit more optimistic that 3 is going to pay off now.
Yeah.
So having seen like 5 and then 6, like I already recommended it on the weekend before I saw 6.
Yeah.
Now I'm just like, but one question I want to pose to you guys: how are you feeling about the show in terms of watchability right now? Would you suggest, like, if you're recommending this, are you saying like, you know what, watch it when it's over? There's only 2 more weeks. Watch them all as a bunch, because I've actually done that recommendation of like,
Yeah.
wait,
Hmm.
just wait.
Yeah.
Wait till there's a little bit more
I
payoff.
I most definitely think that that would be the way to go. For
Yeah.
somebody who is walking into it, maybe they don't know Star Wars at all, and they're going to be like, "Oh, I'll try on a Star Wars. This is the newest thing." Yeah, I mean, if they did that 3 weeks or a month from now, I think that would be infinitely better than
Yeah.
ramping it up
Hmm.
to, because again, we get to episode 3. It was episode 3 or 4 was the big flashback 1 to 16 years ago,
3.
and still didn't get our answers. And now we're in episode 7, we're going to get those answers. So and these are 30 to 35-minute episodes, so somebody could really crank through these in a weekend, and in a long day where like a crappy weather day, and you're just like, I'm going to stay in and watch TV. You can crank through this whole series.
Yeah.
And I think it would be incredibly frustrating to not be able to watch this one all the way through for a casual viewer, because it doesn't. I think the bits fit together a little bit too closely that you just really are not going to get the same value out of watching it one at
Yeah.
a time, unless you're people like us who we're content creators and we analyze and we break things down. But for John Q, streamer guy, I don't know, John Q moviegoer was an old expression. I don't know how you translate that in the 21st century, but you get where I'm going. It requires a little bit more, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Z, you feeling the same way?
Definitely. Yeah, I'm feeling the same way. Definitely for new viewers, watch it at the very end, like when it's all done. That way
Yeah,
they could just watch the whole thing as one cohesive story. I
like
think
a
it
movie,
would, yeah,
right?
like a movie, exactly. And it would just, I think it would be, it'd be taken on a bit better
Yeah,
by watching it that way. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
yeah.
I said the same thing about Andor. I found that was
Hmm.
a slog to get through, but by the end, again, there's little pieces that started to pick up. There's little bits that was like, oh, I see where they're calling back for a couple of episodes. I love how this all came together. I like that it's leading up to Rogue One and this and that, whatever. And I think even with Andor, I really think being able to binge both seasons by the time that's out, I think is going to be
Hmm.
really, really interesting, leading straight
Yeah,
up to Rogue One. I think as an
Yeah,
anthology, in a couple of years, we're going to look at that and be like, oh, this as a piece together that you binge over a weekend is excellent. But I think trying to do that week to week was just like,
yeah, I
okay,
agree.
nap
yeah,
time. Let's watch
yeah,
Andor. And I know I'm going to
yeah.
get some hate for
Right.
that, but whatever. But yeah, I'm feeling the same kind of vibe with this one. And I get Disney Plus wants to roll these out because they want the subscribers there. Like if you're locked
Right.
into the show, you're there for 2 months, right? Like it
Right.
keeps it in the news cycle, whether it's good or bad press. Like everyone was talking
Right.
about this, and apparently the viewing numbers are pretty high. So
Yeah,
like
I did. I did see headlines that's peaking. Yeah, absolutely.
it's working for them that way. But
Hmm.
I think it's going to be better when it's all bingeable, right? Like all
Yeah.
Yeah.
at once. As long as the payoff, who knows? The next 2 episodes could be like just
total
horrible,
dog
but
meat.
I
Yeah.
think it's leaning in a really good
Right.
direction.
Yeah.
Were there any specific character moments or developments or anything from these 2 episodes specifically that you thought was like the best payoff or like a really cool moment? Z, we'll start with you. Anything in
I
particular?
really like the moment where I think it's shortly after Kamir's helmet comes off, and it's just him and Soul, and they're talking, and Kamir says, "I've accepted my darkness. What have you done with yours?"
Yeah.
I thought that was
Ooh.
like a really like,
Right.
Yeah.
ooh,
I
you
know.
know, like
Yeah.
not even just like obviously, and it raises the question, what does he mean? Like, what has Soul done? But it's also just an interesting question overall towards the Jedi. Like, how do they deal with their darkness? We know they don't have therapists
Right.
at the temple,
Just
so
Yoda. Just
they
Yoda.
just
You just got to
yeah.
go see Yoda, because
But Yoda doesn't even
remember
yeah,
when he was counseling Anakin in Episode 3, like, oh, that really
yeah,
worked out. Yeah, you really,
Yeah.
what you said obviously really clicked with him. That fixed his little
Just
red wagon. He was doing
Yoda's got
something
yeah.
that
with
big
that.
bag of electric lettuce that
Yeah,
he just
he's like,
smokes enough.
yeah,
That's how he does the
the
backwards talk. That's just
the
him
big Yoda
going out of his
bong.
mind. Yeah.
Pass that
Yeah.
over. Yeah,
And that
Yeah,
doesn't
like
work
they
for
don't,
therapy.
it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so it was just, I really liked that line and that little moment because it just made me think about the show, but also just
Mm,
the Jedi in general.
yeah.
That was
yeah,
really cool. Yeah.
nice.
Like I said before, Kamir's got some great points
Yeah,
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
accepting your darkness, making that a part of you. Episode 6 was in my opinion, one of the strongest arguments for the dark side, for the Sith,
yeah,
for accepting your emotions, listening to how you feel, realizing they're part of the human experience. And if that's the dark side, that's
Hmm.
just semantics. Whatever.
yeah.
Hmm.
Call it what you want to call it. I call it being
True.
human. And I happen to have a red lightsaber and I protect myself. I kill Jedi because they want to kill me, and everyone else I leave alone, essentially,
Point of
is
Hmm.
kind
view.
of what he said, right?
Point
Like
of view.
everything he says
Yeah.
is so good. He is
Yeah.
Yeah.
like,
Plus, let's face it, my favorite moment is his line where he simply says, "Hey, if you're not going to get in here and join me, can I have my clothes back?" Oh,
Oh,
yeah, get
yeah.
so
so
good.
close to trying to make Star Wars sexy, and then they back away. Though there was just a lot of sexual tension between those two characters that whole
There
episode.
was.
I thought that was pretty damn great, because that's not a real Star Wars thing,
I was
and
very
that's okay.
surprised.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
it was very sexualized, so I thought that was
But
different in a way that I didn't feel like it was over the top. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
and it again was a very poignant example of you've been friends with, been raised, been indoctrinated by this group of virgin monks. And you know what? You want to feel some lust? That's okay. That's a human emotion. You want to think, do you want to come in here with me? Do you not want to come here? I don't care either way. Do what you want. I'm going to do what I want. That's what
Do
we're all
what you
about.
feel. He
Like,
is. It's the space hippie commune.
Hmm.
Laser
Hmm.
slayers. You know what I
and
mean?
he
Yeah,
just
it's do. Yeah,
showed
the
his
electric lettuce. They have
whole,
everything but except for Yoda's weed. You know what I
yeah,
mean? That's tough.
yeah. We didn't see all of that cave. He might be hiding a stash.
It might
Um,
just be. Might just be one big bong in there. That
that's
could
it.
be those
That's it.
divisions. Yeah.
Yeah, as big as him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, the whole cave just walks in with a
Yeah.
torch and just.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But like every single thing he does is to that end of listening to that subconscious level, that below, he says something that's below the surface level subconscious or something. I can't remember the
Yeah.
exact line. I'm going to have to go back and watch it. And I wish I had time to rewatch this one today, because yesterday
Yeah.
I was just like, holy crap, so many good notes and things. Um, Speaking of, okay, you mentioned the reveal, all that. Like, was that a shocking reveal to anyone? It was so talked
Well,
about,
it
but I
was.
thought it was still effective.
He was the only other
Yeah.
character that it could be, right? Unless it'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, it's so and so. Like they could have done something really that would have missed the mark, like, oh, it's really Darth Plagueis or something, or they could have pulled
Mhm.
out something that really missed the mark
Mhm.
uh by not using Manny Jacinto, who's been spectacular in this,
Mhm.
to further the end of, yeah, they could have pulled out something fan servicey and it would have annoyed the shit out of me. I don't know about y'all, but that would have not really hit the mark. So yeah,
Yeah.
not a surprise, but it was the right way to play it.
It was the right call. I
Yeah.
definitely like, and it wasn't it wasn't like to what you said, it wasn't that predictable, but it also, like, the signs started to point to him. You
Hmm.
know, he
Yeah.
knew where the Wookiee Jedi was. Like, he went with her on the planet. He was asking her about, oh, how are you gonna kill him? Like, he was like keeping tabs on her, and I was like,
Mhm.
okay, it's kind of suspicious. So
Yeah.
I wasn't totally surprised, but it was also like I was happy
Right.
Yeah.
almost. Like, I was like,
No.
oh, this is good. It's good.
It's
This is
where it needed to
cool.
land. Yeah, where it
Yeah.
needed to land.
They even
Absolutely.
like they dropped a couple of red herrings in the episode of saying like, yeah, my mother could get inside people's heads like that, right? Like
Hmm.
just, so there was a thing for me anyway, there was that pause for a second of like, oh, wait a second, maybe they're not going with like Khmer essentially being like Darth Jar Jar, which is hilarious because that's
Darth Jar
exactly the
Jar.
theory, right? Like think of the
Yeah,
Darth
because
Jar
they
Jar
teed him up
theory.
being like, oh,
It's the
he's
drunken
he's an
master. It's
idiot.
the idiot
Yeah.
who became like
Hmm.
that was the whole theory
Right.
behind Darth Jar Jar, and they made it real with this guy. Like a set, like
Right.
that's so brilliant. I love it. But like there were a couple of little callbacks in this of like, oh right, we haven't really seen like a close up of this person. Like it's a mask. They can hide body shapes and stuff under that robe. This could be one of
Right.
those witches. This could be, you know, their mother. This could like be someone
Right.
trained by their
Hmm.
mother or something like with the same kind of
Right.
mind games. And for a second, it had me doubting, and then it showed him, and I was like, man, that was a great reveal because they
Nailed it.
Hmm.
made me doubt it just enough to like doubt myself, and then that reveal was just perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, with him saying that line though of "you might call me a Sith," that's got some people really, and myself included, like really wondering: is he still a Sith? What a Sith was he? Maybe a Sith at one point. So like has this guy been kicked out of the Jedi Order or left the Jedi Order, also left the Sith Order? Like
Hmm.
where do you guys think? Do you guys have a theory yourselves? Like
I mean, he's got, yeah. Was he involved in some kind of, like, was he a deserter of some time? Got stabbed in the back?
Hmm.
really looks
Why?
like he got stabbed in the back.
It
Yeah.
looks, yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
what did he get stabbed in the back walking away? And who else could have stabbed him in the back if not for a Jedi? Because, or how would he have found himself into some kind of weird Sith coven? I don't know. The witches that we saw, they weren't bearing lightsabers, I don't believe, unless I'm
Mm-hmm.
misremembering.
mhm.
So it's not like, but again, it's a big galaxy. You don't know where he's been and what he's done, and how are they going to cover that? Plus, the entire next episode is going to be focused around these flashbacks,
Mm-hmm.
which leads us to the big finale in episode 8. So where will that answer be revealed, or will it
Yeah.
be left for the ages? Who's to say?
Yeah. There's a lot of ground to cover, and I'm very curious about like his background story and
Yeah.
how is he a Sith? Is he not? Like, did he leave the Jedi? Like, those are all questions that I want to know. So
Right.
Do
hopefully
you
they answer it.
do you have any prevailing theories right now that you're digging
Um,
that you want to see happen?
Honestly, I think obviously we know that he doesn't like really listen to anyone. He kind of does his own thing. That's very apparent. So
Mm-hmm.
one theory I do have is that maybe, he was part of the Jedi Order and then he got um somehow met a dark side user and thought that life was very appealing, and so he left the Jedi Order and
Mm-hmm.
is now an apprentice under a Sith. But then realized that I don't want to be an apprentice to him because he's still telling me what to do, and people are still telling me what
Mm-hmm.
to do, and I don't want to. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And the master didn't like that, he got that scar from obviously probably pissing off his master, and then he just went off and doing his own thing now. That's a theory
Interesting.
that I got.
I'm wondering. Here's a flip on that. What if there is no Sith master? What if this kid discovered an artifact or a book, and so he wandered into the the evil library section at Hogwarts, you know what I mean, and found that bad book. And what if he's just doing it on his own?
Hmm.
It's true.
Because you
Good
know how
point.
he said, "Oh, you might call me a Sith, like it's a racial, like it's the N word." You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because there's no one but him. And when he came out with his dangerous knowledge, maybe he picked a fight with a Jedi and said, "I'm walking away from this." And that the way that Jedi tried to stop him was by stabbing him in the back.
That's also a good theory.
Yeah.
Very, very close to like a Balin
Yeah.
skull. Like
Yeah.
we've seen that before. Like I'm not a Sith, but I'm also not a Jedi. I'm something
Right.
more. I'm something.
I practice the Force,
And
but I
we're-
do it it's the Burger King. He does it his way. You
and
know what I'm
where
saying?
Balin had the orange saber because he still, I think, had some of that like honor and dignity,
Yeah.
and still a little bit of that Jedi-ness in him.
Yeah.
This guy's kind of the opposite of that. He's
Yeah.
just straight up unleashed, unhinged.
He's
Yeah.
violence, sex,
there we go.
all of it.
Yeah. So I
Sexy violence.
I like your point, Charlie, because I saw something earlier and I wish I remember where I saw this or who said it, because I think it's a really good point. That doesn't look like a straight up lightsaber scar on his back. That kind of resembles maybe a lightsaber whip scar.
Ooh, and that's why, because that is the big reveal that her name again is
Vernestra?
Vernestra, who came from the previous works
she's been in
of
everything,
the High
yeah.
Republic.
Yeah.
But she was a child, or she was a younger individual.
Yeah.
Because
It's shown her, the High Republic novels, comics, and everything have shown
Yeah.
her in a few different stages of her life. So she's.
But you see how cagey she's danced around and tried to manipulate the events of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Mark, without a doubt, she's the one who put screws to this guy. That's a whip. He was the whipping boy. He got whipped by her for doing some such. But yeah, so combining your theory and mine, I think he stands alone, but I think he was whipped and beaten, and it's part of the same bigger cover up, which, as we know, all of this cover up and the secrecy and stuff is what begins that nice slow slide in the next century that leaves the Jedi Order completely exposed to be destroyed. And this is where it starts, and that's what the series has promised us all along, that this is the beginning of the end for the Jedi with this story. Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking. To jump ahead in your questions, that's what I'm expecting from the next 2 episodes.
Yeah,
without a doubt. Yeah, this the reveal of the big downfall, the chink in the armor, the run in the stocking, pulling on the that tapestry shred that just makes everything go blah.
Yeah.
Before I ask you what you expect from the last 2 episodes, I do want to go back for a second and talk about the island that we've already mentioned a couple of times.
Right, the island.
Okay, every other place in this show has been well established. Whether it's a new place like Brendock, it says the name. Why are they keeping this one cagey? It kind of gives me some
totally
Octo vibes.
Oh yeah, totally.
But it also really sits with a Legends location from the Plagueis novel, Baldemnik, which similar kind of terrain, similar kind of look to it as described in the novel, and was rich in cortosis, and we actually saw a cortosis vein inside the cave. So it could be that.
And we did acquire some cute little mouse. What do they call them? Mouse anteaters, the little critters that were running around. Of course, they had a baby because that's very Star Wars. But whatever it is, I'll interject to say this: it's significant, obviously, that they're not telling us, because it's going to circle back around.
Yeah.
That's what's very obvious.
And either one of those could be interesting, because Octu, Jedi Temple over here, Sith Temple maybe on the other side of the planet or something, like specialty that way. Or Baldemnik, if they're bringing that back from the Legends novels, is this something to do with Plagueis? Is this Plagueis's apprentice, Plagueis's master, depending on how timelines move, like sync up?
Yeah.
Plagueis's master's master, you know, like there could be some connection here. They could be establishing that like this is the rule of two. This is continuing
Hmm.
Bane's lineage. This is like kind of where we're
Hmm.
picking up. Um, any
Yeah.
any theories, Z? Like anything? What are you thinking for this?
Well, I know that a lot of people, even before the show started, there was talk about Plagueis and about him showing up.
Yeah,
Um, so you bringing up this island potentially being a link to him, I think would be, I wouldn't put it past them to do a Plagueis reveal or some kind of, maybe not even reveal him, but like some kind of like mention or something that links to him. Like I
yeah.
wouldn't be surprised. And I feel like that could potentially be interesting if they do it right. And it would just be nice because then it just feels like the timeline is just kind of falling more into place. Like all the
Hmm.
stories are kind of linking in together.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I
I'd
see
be
that.
open to it. I'd be open to
Yeah.
it.
The one the one chink in this armor right now for me, or and I think for a decent amount of people, is Kylo Ren's theme played in episode 5 during
Yes.
a shot of
True.
Khmer.
What does it mean?
What, and they said, like, Leslie Headland has come out and said it has a reason. I'm not telling you right now, but you'll find out before the series is or the season's over.
Oh boy.
Are they just like
Diabolical.
are they doing that because Kylo Ren was kind of like the last, you know, he wanted to take over Darth Vader's lineage even though he wasn't you know, a Darth,
Yeah.
you know, he had that bloodline. Was that like, are they just playing it as like, you know, it's kind of a lineage thing, or is this more of a connection to the Knights of Ren? There's similarities between this
Mm.
Mm,
character and the Ren that we've seen in comics as far as like the single cortosis arm gauntlet. The helmet's
Yeah.
even kind of similar ish, different
I've
Yeah.
enough
seen
that
that.
like this could be, you know,
Oh,
that
yeah.
Ren's master kind of thing. Like,
Yeah. There's got to be something. What if he's the first Knight of Ren,
mm,
right? Like that.
Yeah.
That's his subsect. This is his offshoot, his boy band, as it were. That is the Knights of Ren. Yeah. That I don't know what else it could be now that you kind of play it out like that.
Yeah.
That's really where
yeah.
it's got to come from.
It
So
could be
yeah.
like the starting point of that. Like
Exactly.
just
But
yeah.
yes, but existing outside the traditional Sith, because again, like there's no, like we talked about in the previous episode where people are like, oh, these witches call the Force the thread and how dare they, blah blah blah.
Right.
How is one practitioner, how is a practitioner of the dark side, how can they only be a Sith? Why
Mm,
aren't they a knight of this or this
right.
thing or that thing?
Yeah.
Because the Force, not everyone has access to the Force, but the Force is all things.
Right.
So
Hmm.
much like we have infinite numbers of belief systems and named
Hmm.
religions here on this planet, how are there not the same things
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
in this made up universe? Why wouldn't there be? It's all made up anyway, you know.
It's all
But you
exactly.
know, the real power in science fiction is to reflect back on the human condition and to tell thoughtful stories, in my opinion. So that could be a way to really approach that. So anyway, those are my parting thoughts.
Z, any one of those kind of line up better for you, or do you just kind of you're happy where the story's going?
I'm I'm kind of happy where the story's going. I'm curious. I'm hopeful that they, don't let me down the next couple of
Yeah,
episodes
right.
because that would just be very disappointing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a great way to kind of start to wrap this up. And I'm going to combine the last two questions because I think that's what we're going to get, obviously. So, what do you expect? What do you think happened on Brendock? What do you expect for these last two episodes? Z, we'll start with you. Like, what's your big finale feel going into this?
Ooh. I mean, as far as what happened on Brendock, I've seen a lot of theories about some people are saying that there was like a different motive, like when the Jedis came to Brendock, like they were actually sent there to just wipe out all the witches, or somehow the Jedi had something to do with the creation of the twins, and
Oh,
No.
that was kind of
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah.
Like they had something to do with that, and then I believe this person online was saying that um, the Sith somehow got involved, and it kind of messed up everything, and so then they were trying to damage control, and that's why they went back and like all this. Yeah, it was an
Well,
interesting theory.
Really?
Um, yeah,
That seems
it seems
fascinating.
kind
I
of
mean, I'm into that. I'd like to say,
yeah.
yeah, I'd like to see how that plays out. That's where I'm at.
hmm Yeah, because
Yeah.
they kind of took it from a stance like the Jedi, they knew of the Chosen One prophecy,
right.
hmm
and they were just tired of waiting. So that's
hmm
why they wanted to they wanted to create the twin.
they wanted to kind of McNugget that deal, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
kind of the McDonald's version of the chosen one. Kind
yeah.
of, you
Interesting.
know, or back to Burger King. Like I said, it's a Burger King. It's a have it your way. So this was their way to have it their way.
And that even ties again back into the Plagueis novel of like Plagueis and Palpatine trying to manipulate the Force to create
Yeah,
create Anakin
Yeah,
or whatever it's theorized. So that's wow, that's really interesting.
yeah,
yeah,
that it's
big
yeah.
time.
hmm
Do
Wow.
you want them to go that way, or do you have another like is that your favorite kind of theory that you've read so far?
I think that would be completely different than what we've kind of seen so far, like in the Star
Yeah,
Wars universe. Like it would be completely unpredictable,
yeah,
hmm
which I think people might kind of like.
yeah,
So,
I think it's sorely needed in
yeah.
you know, in a franchise where you're like, well, what new ideas do we have? You know,
yeah.
not going back to the well too many times to doing the same thing over and over again, which is unfortunate. Like that's what the Book of Boba Fett was, and you know, that's kind of what Kenobi was. It's like, well, let's tread over some, you know, used old ground, and they've done it in Star Trek too much in recent years, like with Star Trek Discovery. Let's
Mm.
tread over some old ground. You know what I mean?
hmm
But yeah, to do something where you subvert expectations and really turn the Jedi's into the Jedi into the villains, yes,
Yeah,
please.
Yeah,
If they do something unscrupulous or something self-serving, I'm all
yeah,
for it because
yeah.
again, it fits with the overall theme of the show, which is, you know, the Jedi have fallen from the true light. They're not connected to the Force the way that they should be, and they're kind of too far up their own butts to, you know, kind of know what's going on.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that would be great.
And
Very
I
Yeah.
solid.
yeah, I love that they've been showing us that so far. You get Jedi like Soul, who's more of that traditional, like honorable kind of Jedi, but then you have some others that very much seem to be hiding some shit, doing some sketchy stuff.
Yep.
Some stuff's gonna come out. Like I'm interested in seeing all of it,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
love that kind of theory of like
Yeah.
were they involved? Were they like they seem to be involved? Obviously, like he said, like what
They
really
seem
happened
to
on
be
Brent. Like
involved.
Soul
Yeah.
said it straight
Yeah.
up. Like we need to talk. Um, so we're gonna see that. We're gonna get it, and whether it's something like that complex and like seedy and
Yeah.
forceful, or like my kind of prevailing theory is way more boring. So I love yours. But
Yeah.
mine is just kind of like the Jedi were just in this place. And I think when this show first started, I mentioned like in the comics or books or whatever, there was that council of different Force users that
Yeah.
we saw a bunch of different Force users come together. And I'm wondering if that kind of led up to this because a Jedi died, some shit broke out. Um, and I think that's kind of when the Republic were like, listen, we need some like super cops because you guys clearly get out of control when you're all together. So like, you know what?
Yeah.
We're just gonna pick the Jedi. You guys are the cops now. Go and order 66 these other sects, right? So I'm curious if that's the kind of shit that they're pulling off. It's like go find the
Could
witches,
be.
go find, this group and this group and this group, and just either tell them to
hmm
join you, steal their kids,
Or they can have an accident.
or accidentally maybe
Yeah.
burn their temple down.
Yeah.
Like so that's kind of mine, but like mine's way more boring than yours, so I like yours.
Yeah.
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 That's way
Let's
better.
put one of those, two of those together.
That is
Nice.
so
Well,
cool.
we will have the big wrap up in our next episode, and so
Absolutely.
we will have all of the theories coming back together.
We will
So
see by the next one.
It's very
come
exciting.
back. Yeah.
Z, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
This is an
Thank
absolute
you for
pleasure.
having me. It
Yeah,
You
was so
this was
much
bet.
awesome.
fun.
You
Awesome.
see, and it was a lot less anxiety inducing than you clearly thought it was
Oh
going to
yeah.
be. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
we keep things lean and mellow. You
Yeah,
got it.
for sure. We hope that you'll come back sometime. And
Oh, for sure.
before that, though, let people know where they can follow you on the internet and find some of your amazing content.
Okay. Yeah, you can follow me on TikTok and Instagram. My handles are it's underscore dot the general dot underscore
The general, not like
the
the
general.
we have there's a low cost insurance provider in the U.S. called the General, and he's got a team. Come to the General and save some time. Google it, trust me. So you'll feel very differently about the
Okay.
General after that. But no,
Okay.
that's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Is that
Oh, thank you.
General Kenobi, General Skywalker? Is there a different
General.
idea
Well,
to the name?
I chose the general because my family and I actually have our own designations. So I'm the general, my mom's the sergeant, my brother's the captain.
All
Oh
right.
my.
And we have our own battalion name and all that stuff.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that's where it came from. Yeah.
Totally awesome.
Fish.
I
I love
love
Yeah.
it.
it.
I love it. That's
Thank
fantastic.
you.
Well, I hope
Good
people
deal.
will go follow you. I hope you'll come back, and I hope you had a great time.
Awesome.
Thank you. I
It was a great
really
chat.
Absolutely.
did.
Yeah.
Good
For
deal.
sure.
Mark, where do people find you out there?
You can find me as Canardian_Jedi on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and of course, hanging out in our Discord group, Secret Friends Unite. Again, links are in the show notes. Come join us over
Best
there. It's a good
Discord
time.
ever.
Yeah.
Hello. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm on Threads and Instagram primarily at the C3. TheCeeThree. Spell that bad boy out. Spending tons of time in our Secret Friends Unite Discord, but also a great Discord that my wife April and I started for Star Trek fans here in Michigan. Very no frills, just a discussion group. No anything else about it. It is called the United Trekkers of Michigan. Open Discord, so come and find us. We'd love to have you join up. And with that, friends, as always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
May the force be with you. Rex, play us out.